Hey, before we get started, I want to thank Black Desert for generously sponsoring this video. Black Desert is an online MMORPG that really stands out from the competition. You can build your own custom character from scratch. There are 16 diverse classes to choose from, and the character creation system is so detailed it's crazy. I basically created Lord Twigo, he who transcends dimensions and worlds. And thanks to the easy to use beginner's tutorial, I was able to jump right into the game in only a few minutes. Black Desert features real-time, action-based combat, which includes fast-paced combos and diverse weapons and fighting styles that make it an absolute joy to play. The graphics are just stunning. Don't take my word for it, you have to see it for yourself. And as a huge fan of fantasy and medieval history, I was hooked right away. The game is constantly being updated, and a brand new expansion pack has just been released, featuring a large mountainous area with over 300 quests to complete. And there's even a freaking dragon boss to take on, a worthy foe for the mightiest of men, Lord Twigo Sama Sensei. Try it out for yourself, just click the link in the description for a free 7-day trial, and you'll see exactly why I'm loving this game right now.
What up guys, Gozen here for AnimeUproar, and today we are adding yet another video to the MHA Facts series. Today we are going to be talking about the darkest hero out there, Fumikage, one of my favorite characters. This video was suggested by a lot of you, both on YouTube and on Instagram. He was the most voted for character after Bakugo, a video that I did a while back. For this series, you decide which videos I do, so let me know who you want to see next in the comments, and check the MHA Fact series playlist, which I'll link in the description and at the end of the video, to make sure you don't suggest a character that's already been covered. If you like this series, make sure United States have smashed that like button to let me know, and if you haven't, make it a triple combo by smashing the subscribe button and notification bell to join our Plus Ultra fam. Without further ado, let's get into some dark facts. Fact number 1. First up, let's talk about Fumikage's name. If you watch my other videos, you know by now that Horikoshi always tries to make sure that the names of his characters match them and or their quirks in one way or another. This is practically always the case, but Western viewers may miss that because the names have meanings in the Japanese language but not necessarily in English. For example, Midoriya has Midori in his name, which means green. This reflects both the color of his hair and hero costume. Maybe it even hints at the fact that he's a greenhorn, or in other words, a newbie, which is what My Hero Academia is all about, watching these novices grow into pro heroes. Similarly, Fumikage's names were definitely designed specifically for him. Tokoyami, his family name, means eternal darkness or despair. The word Yami shouldn't be anything new for anime fans. You might remember it from Yu-Gi-Oh, where Yami Yugi, direct translation Dark Yugi, referred to Yugi's alternate identity, that of the Pharaoh. Even in Black Clover, the lovable Black Bull's captain is named Yami, which reflects his dark magic powers. Even though it's Fumikage's family name, the name fits him perfectly. For instance, Fumikage's quirk is Dark Shadow, a shadow-like creature shaped like a bird that grows stronger the darker it gets. In fact, if it's dark enough, Dark Shadow's power is potentially limitless, and Fumikage has trouble even controlling it, a major issue which can potentially lead to, you guessed it, despair. Not to mention, Fumikage's usual attitude, which can totally be described as dark. At the very least, no one would say he's a happy-go-lucky character. Next, we turn to his given name, Fumikage, which is no less customized to fit his character. You may recognize the word Kage from Naruto, like in Hokage, Kazekage, and so on. If you didn't know, the word means shadow. Again, the word shadow reflects his quirk, which is a shadow, but it also reflects Fumikage himself, who enjoys spending time in the shadows, i.e. in dark places. The Fumi part contains the Japanese character for step. Put together with Kage, the name could roughly translate to one who walks in the shadows, a perfect name for a dark birdman. Lastly, his chosen hero named Tsukuyomi comes from Tsukuyomi no Mikoto, the moon god in Japanese mythology. So we get another reference to the dark, this time the night specifically. And the god's story is depressing, or in other words dark as well, since it is said that he killed Ukemochi, the goddess of food, which angered the sun goddess, who was his wife and also his sister. The sun goddess got mad and moved to another part of the sky, which is why day and night are never together. So Tsukuyomi was left alone in the dark. Now tell me that there's a character darker than Fumikage in My Hero Academia. You can't, because he's darker than black. He is eternal darkness. Fact number 2. Fumikage seems to be obsessed with not only dark stuff but religious stuff as well. He seems to constantly be associated with dark and religious references. For example, I already mentioned how his hero name references the moon god, which is part of the Shinto religion. When we see his dark, gloomy room, we also see crosses there, obviously a symbol from Christianity. In one of his character profiles in the manga, Horikoshi says that Fumikage likes dimly lit places, another way of saying darker places, and apples, a fruit that has great symbolic value in Christianity. Even the anime Death Note picks up on this, as gods of death love apples, and Light in the intro bites an apple, symbolizing the loss of innocence and his own desire to become a god. Lastly, Fumikage has one move called Black Fallen Angel, yet another reference to Christianity, and a move called Black Ankh. And an ankh is another religious symbol, an object resembling a cross but having a loop at the top. It comes to us from ancient Egypt, and it was used as a symbol of life. Yet another thing that you might recognize from Yu-Gi-Oh! Thus, Fumikage likes combining darkness with religious symbols. I find all of this to be interesting, and I think it foreshadows how powerful Fumikage can potentially become. Now, take a second to appreciate that amazing pun in the previous sentence before we move on to fact number 3. For this fact, let's talk about Fumikage's popularity. In Japan, Bird Boy Fumikage ranked 7th in the first popularity poll, right after Frog Girl Tsuyu. This is pretty impressive considering how many awesome characters are in this series. However, he couldn't remain in the top 10, he dropped to 15th in the second poll and then up to 13th in the third. There was actually a metafictional bonus manga in the 14th volume, where the My Hero Academia characters were commenting on their place in the second annual popularity ranking. Fumikage stoically says, "I dropped," while Kaminari says at least we didn't drop as much as him, referring to Mineta, who went from 18th in the first poll all the way down to 31st in the second. And of course, Mineta is not stoic at all, as he is shown totally freaking out. In the same volume, the top 10 most popular characters got shown wearing fantasy-inspired outfits. And in the back of the volume, we have another metafictional moment where Mina says, we, the less popular characters, wanted to dress up as knockoff fantasy characters too. And so Horikoshi gives some of the less popular characters, including Fumikage, their own 2-page spread wearing their own fantasy outfits. However, poor Mineta even gets left out of this page. I gotta say though, I love that Horikoshi gives us this metafictional bonus material in the manga volumes. I think it's hilarious and it gives some more attention to the characters that don't get enough. Next, let's talk about the popularity polls in the West. In the first English popularity poll, Fumikage also got 7th, but in the second one, he only fell 1 spot to 8th place. Similarly, in Crunchyroll's 2018 popularity poll, he got 8th place too, so he's consistently been in the top 10 in the West. Let me know if he's in your top 10, but I gotta say he's definitely in mine. Fact number 4. If you asked Horikoshi, the creator of My Hero Academia, who the coolest character in the series is, he would say Fumikage. He wrote that he thinks he's cool beyond cool. In volume 12, he also points out that Fumikage wears a choker around his neck, and that that's cool as well. In short, Horikoshi would give the coolest character award to Fumikage, but at the same time he finds it tough to deal with Fumikage because he doesn't quite fit into the rest of the world. Compared to the others, Horikoshi says that he really struggles with him, and I completely get where he's coming from. I joked in a previous video where I explained every Class 1A student in 10 words or less that Fumikage is what would happen if Bruce Wayne, i.e. Batman, fell into a chicken coop instead of a cave where he was attacked by bats. I purposely compared Fumikage to Batman because they are very similar, and I love Fumikage in large part because I love Batman. He was always my favorite superhero to the point where I used to introduce myself as Batman when I was a kid. No joke. However, Batman fits into his world. His dark personality meshes well with the dark city of Gotham. However, the world of MHA is not as dark, and Fumikage is a teenager surrounded by other often more lighthearted teenagers. As a result, he comes off as someone trying to be like Batman rather than just being like Batman, and instead of coming off as cool, sometimes he just ends up being used for comedic purposes. For instance, when his room is shown, Fumikage has to be shoved out of the way, and then Kirishima comments that he remembers buying keychains like the ones Fumikage has in his room in middle school. Fumikage is embarrassed and wants them to be gone, as he says. Thus, although his room might come off as cool in a different context, and Deku, the character most like Horikoshi, finds it cool himself, in the world of MHA, the room comes off as kind of embarrassing and even childish. UA isn't Gotham, and there's a disconnect between Fumikage's dark seriousness and the often lighthearted atmosphere of the school. So Horikoshi still thinks Fumikage is cool, but he understands that not everyone in the world of My Hero Academia would see Fumikage in the same dim light. Fact number 5. Although Fumikage is a lot like Batman, it would seem that most of the inspiration for his character came from a different source. There is one Western hero that has even more in common with our Dark Bird, and that's So Raven. But jokes aside, I am of course referring to Raven from DC Comics. I've commented in my Tsuyu video how our beloved Frog Girl is a lot like the Western supervillain Toad, except Horikoshi took the powers and gave them to a cute high school girl instead. We have a similar situation here. Raven and Fumikage have a lot of things in common. They are both associated with birds and darkness, they both have shadow-like powers that take the form of a bird, and both of them struggle with their dark OP powers, trying to keep them under control. And if that wasn't enough, they both wear cloaks and have dark colored hero costumes. I like both of these characters, and Raven is my favorite Teen Titan, so these similarities make me like Fumikage all the more. Fact number 6. Let's talk about Dark Shadow and Fumikage's hero costume. Hero costumes are usually made with the individual's quirk in mind, which is why Mina has acid-proof boots that allow her to use her quirk to slide across the ground, and why Momo's hero costume shows as much skin as possible so she can easily pop out her creations. Fumikage's costume is also customized to work with his quirk. Dark Shadow is powered by darkness. In fact, Horikoshi said that a Dark Shadow who has been used continuously in bright places will eventually run out of energy and get extremely weak. So weak in fact, that he says a weakened Dark Shadow is more useless than a cockroach. So in order to keep Dark Shadow strong, Tokoyami wears a long shade-providing cape as part of his hero costume. The shade provided under his cape ensures that Dark Shadow can power up to an extent even in the daylight. But even so, let's just take a minute to appreciate that Fumikage got 3rd place in the UA Sports Festival, where the matches took place over the course of the day, a circumstance that weakens his quirk, and that the person he lost against was Bakugo, whose quirk produces light and thus further weakens Dark Shadow. If Fumikage learns to control nighttime, full beast mode Dark Shadow, he'll definitely be one of the strongest characters in My Hero Academia. Fact number 7. Alright, now let's look at some good old-fashioned statistics. In the official data book, Fumikage scored a 2 out of 5 in power, and Horikoshi even notes that his arms are fairly thin. I suppose since Dark Shadow does most of the fighting for him, Fumikage has disregarded his own physical training, which is not good. You know that Batman would never do that, and speaking of Batman, unfortunately Fumikage didn't get Batman's genius level intellect. He only scored a 3 out of 5 in intelligence. In speed he also got a 3 out of 5, and in technique he got a solid 4 out of 5. Perhaps most surprisingly, Fumikage, who seems like he would be a lone wolf type, scored a perfect 5 out of 5 in cooperativeness. Even Kirishima, the man who can make friends with Lord Explosion Murder himself, only managed to get a 4, so props to Fumikage for that. Fact number 8. In the Japanese, Fumikage is voiced by the 36-year-old award-winning voice actor Yoshimasa Hosoya. Hosoya is from Hiroshima, Japan, and as well as being a seiyuu, or Japanese voice actor, he is also a singer. He won twice at the Seiyu Awards for Best Supporting Actor. You may recognize him as the complicated Reiner from Attack on Titan, or as the awesome Olga from Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans, to name a few of his voice acting gigs. Fact number 9. In the English, Fumikage is voiced by the 32-year-old Joshua Grell, a man from Texas, USA. Now you know that's a sign to Texas. Smash that like button if you're enjoying the video so far. You may recognize the voice as the quick-thinking Armin from Attack on Titan and as the legendary Kenichi from Kenichi the Mightiest Disciple. Shout out to Briggs from All Day Anime, who will never stop telling everybody he meets to immediately watch Kenichi. Fact number 10. This is usually a lightning round where I say a bunch of facts in lieu of just one fact, so you guys get some bonus facts up in here. However, instead of calling it a lightning round, we'll call it an Eternal Darkness round, this time in consideration of Fumikage and his dislike of bright things. Okay, ready, set, 3, 2, 1, let's jam. Fumikage's blood type is AB, he's 158 centimeters or 5 foot 2 inches tall, which places him right between Ochako and Mina, meaning he's actually the shortest guy in the class after my boy Mineta. Fumikage dresses surprisingly casual when he is not wearing his school uniform or his hero costume. Fumikage's birthday is on October 30th, just the day before Halloween, which reflects his dark and spooky room and personality, along with his bird head, which would always seem out of place to us except maybe on Halloween. And finally, at first glance, in the manga, you might not notice Fumikage when the students are working on strengthening their quirks during the forest training camp arc. We see most of the other students training, but Fumikage is seemingly nowhere to be found. Later in the manga volume, Horikoshi explains that if you look closely, there is in fact a scream coming from a cave, and that very scream comes from the Dark Bird Lord himself. Fumikage is in the cave, training to control Dark Shadow in complete darkness. Bonus fact: Fumikage is my second favorite character to pick after Todoroki in My Hero One's Justice game, and you can watch me and my brother Animac play that game by following us on Twitch at AnimeUproar, link in the description. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed the first ever Eternal Darkness round. Thank you so much for watching, I really do appreciate it. Make sure you Texas smash that like button if you enjoyed this video, and make it a triple combo by smashing that subscribe button and ringing that magic YouTube bell, so you don't miss any of these videos in the future. Remember to leave your suggestions for future MHA videos in the comments. Definitely check out Black Desert, link in the description. Thank you to them again for sponsoring this video. And have yourselves a plus ultra day. Until next time, see ya, Dark Space Cowboy.